audience wants him to do. He's kind of weird like that. This time around, the story goes that the IMF, headed up again by veteran agent Ethan Hunt, must contend with the Syndicate, the anti-IMF, their words, an organization with all our protagonists' skills, but none of the morals. Again, Hunt and his team must go rogue in order to pull this one off, which is the standard for these films. In fact, Tom Cruise has now gone rogue in 75% of this series. That is a statistical fact. And the only one that he didn't was part 2, which doesn't really count because that one's all spinning around on motorcycles and masks and nonsense. I'm happy to report that Rogue Nation is another solid entry in the series. Blending in seamlessly after the conclusion of 4, it again wisely leans towards being a more ensemble-based film. Yes, Tom Cruise is still the lead. I mean, you don't see Simon Pegg strapping himself to the side of a plane, the coward. But these movies work best when there is that fun group dynamic at play, which is clearly evident here. Rogue Nation is also no slouch when it comes to action sequences. They tick all the boxes. Minimal CGI, or at least minimal CGI that's noticeable. Tom Cruise doing things a man of his age and fame shouldn't be doing, plus each set piece has a purpose. Not to mention, it does what these films do best: build tension and raise the stakes as each sequence progresses. I should also mention that again, like the best of these films, there is humour sprinkled throughout, though it never feels out of place and mostly acts as welcome points of tension relief. This is a credit to all the performers, even Cruise himself, who I don't find particularly funny, but he does have a pretty great moment after he's really pushed himself to the limits in the film's obligatory heist sequence. Now, a weak point of the last entry was the villain. This isn't really the case here though. Whilst I did find his motivations suspect, he himself was a menacing presence. Very Voldemort-like for some reason. Just a real snake-faced jerk who's seemingly capable of thwarting Ethan Hunt at every turn. On the flip side of that, I wouldn't say this film is really that surprising in its storytelling. It does try to be with the whole, hey, who's this new agent? Is she good? Is she bad? But that quickly becomes predictable and repetitive. And I guess it could also be said that these films do follow a particular formula now. You know, start off with a couple of action sequences, throw in a heist and some masks or whatever, and then wrap it up with another action sequence. Don't get me wrong, it is an entertaining ride, but nothing groundbreaking in terms of story structure. All in all, if you're a fan of this franchise, or really espionage films that also lean heavily on action, then Rogue Nation is well worth turning up for. These films really seem to have hit their stride, the same way that the Fast and Furious series has. Obviously still with these two things being vastly different. Well, not vastly, but you know, they have different names. And this film also has me eager to see the inevitable 6th movie when that rolls around. So all in all, out of my 2 possible ratings, this one gets a best movie ever. You should see it. Or you could see it. Look, it's better than Pixels. Probably. I don't know, I haven't seen it, despite all the glowing recommendations that it has not received.